So we're into the last 16 of the Champions Cup, which means we've got wall-to-wall rugby all weekend. And unlike the previous rounds, we've actually got jeopardy on every game. So let's get stuck into it. So 16 teams left. We've got 6 from England, 5 from France, 2 from Ireland, 2 from South Africa, and 1 from Scotland. Competing in 8 matches. I think there's 8 real quality matches coming up. I think every game has got some real top-class matchups and some real intrigue on it as well. But by the end of the weekend, I think we're going to be left with 3 French teams, 2 English teams, 1 Scottish team, 1 Irish team, and 1 South African team. So let's take a look to see how I managed to conclude to that. Now, I'm going to start with the game that I'm most excited by and most looking forward to, which is the reigning champions, La Rochelle, travelling to Cape Town to take on the Stormers. Now, these two clubs had a real ding-dong battle earlier in the season in the pool stages. Real tight match. Looked like La Rochelle had it pretty much wrapped up midway through the second half. But they had a disallowed try, and then all of a sudden momentum went back to Stormers, and they just managed to kind of steal a win at the very death of the game with a late try and a great touchline conversion from Marnie Lebock. But this time round, I think there's going to be a few tricks up Ronan O'Gara's sleeve. I think he will have been targeting this match. He would have been focusing a lot of effort and investment and time thinking about it, because obviously he wants to be going for that 3rd championship in a row. Now, I think it will be really fascinating to see how well the La Rochelle fans travel as well. I mean, obviously a long way down to Cape Town, but normally they are great supporters and really, get stuck in and get behind their team. But either way, whether they travel well or not, from a supporter point of view, I think they're going to show their pedigree this weekend, and La Rochelle will sneak across the line and get a good away win against the Stormers. Let's now switch our attention to the 2 favourites for the competition. And I think most bookmakers have lined up either Leinster or Toulouse as their favourites. From a Leinster point of view, they are on this drive for 5 still. They're looking to get their 5th championship, which feels like it's been about 8, 9, maybe even more years than that now. And they're being matched up with Leicester in the knockout rounds for the 3rd time in a row, or for the 3rd consecutive season. And I think, to be brutally honest, this season is probably even more of a mismatch than the previous 2 years. Leicester's form is dropping off a little bit. They've fallen away a little bit in the Prem Rugby playoff contention. And I know Leicester have got a few injury worries. I think there's a combination of Henshaw, Keenan, Ringrose, Porter, and Frawley, who are all potentially not going to make this match. But either way, I think they're going to be way too strong for Leicester, and it's going to be a fairly comfortable home win for Leinster. Moving on to the other favourites, Toulouse. They are in the all-French clash. They are playing Racing. And Toulouse have been playing some incredible rugby this season. You know, they've been using Dupont at 9 and 10. Obviously, Intermac's been injured. And he's looked great in both positions. Their last couple of matches in the top 14, they've looked a little bit creaky. They got narrowly beaten by Bordeaux in Bordeaux a couple of weeks ago, and then just snuck past a much improving Pau this weekend just gone. And I think it's an interesting one. I think if any side could go and win at Toulouse, I think it's going to be another French side, because I think they just know each other so well. Now, Racing have won their last 3 top 14 games, and I really do give them a sniff of this one. I think they've got a chance. I think it's going to be a really close match, really competitive. And I think Toulouse probably will get it over the line, but I think it's going to be a way, way tighter match than most people are predicting. But yeah, cannot wait for this one. Now, if you're enjoying this content, please do give it a like or subscribe. I love talking about rugby. I love trying to predict what's going to happen in rugby, which is obviously a fairly impossible job most of the time. But yeah, if you're enjoying it, please do like and subscribe, and let me know what you think. You know, have I called these games right? Do you see it coming out differently? Love to hear your thoughts on that one. So let's move into the other content over the weekend, or the other matches, starting on Friday night, where Glasgow Warriors travel down to the Stoop to play the Quins. Now, Glasgow have been going really well this season. I think they're currently sitting second in the URC and looking good value for that. You know, they've put on some really strong performances, had some great wins. Harlequins, obviously, an attacking dream, score lots of points. But I think really worrying for them is they have conceded 88 points in their last two games. And I've just got a sneaking suspicion this is where we're going to see a surprise this weekend. And I think Glasgow are going to go to the stoop, and I think they're going to do the business. I think they're going to get the win. And I think that will be tremendous for Scottish rugby to see them back into the sort of quarterfinal stages of this magnificent competition. Diving into the remaining Saturday games, I think the first one to kick off is Bulls versus Lyon. Lyon, lovely attacking side. Really enjoyed watching them earlier in the season. But I think it's going to be all too much for Lyon. I think Bulls have been rampant recently. Very, very strong rugby side. Very strong forward pack. And I think that coupled with the altitude in Pretoria will just be too much for the Lyon, and the Bulls will come through that one triumphantly. Next game we've got on the Saturday is the only all-English clash. So we've got Exeter with Bath travelling down to Exeter. And this is another exciting matchup. I think these two teams are playing against each other again next week. But I think this is the one they'll both want to win. Two good attacking sides. Could go either way. I mean, I think from my perspective, I haven't seen Bath play a full 80 minutes of rugby this season. They've been great in little windows in games, but I think they've got to fight for the whole 80 minutes here. And I think, in front of that Sandy Park crowd, who are probably going to be having memories of other wonderful European triumphs they've had there, I think just all of that will just go slightly against Bath. And I see this being a home win for Exeter. And I think that'll be exciting to see them kind of take that young group of players into the next round and see just how far they can get. So that's where I'm predicting that one. I think home advantage is going to do it for Exeter. We then move into Bordeaux Saracens. Now, earlier in the pool stages this season, I think it's fair to say Bordeaux gave Saracens their most convincing defeat for a fully loaded Saracen side, probably in the last 10 to 15 years. They absolutely dominated them, annihilated them. And whilst I don't see the game being anywhere near that, demolition, I just really cannot see Saracens winning this one. I think there's just too much explosive power, too much fluidity in that attacking line from Bordeaux. So I see very much a Bordeaux win. I think Saracens will give a better account of themselves. And in some ways, it'll be a little bit of a sad occasion for some of the Saracens players, because I think this could well be the last European match that we see the likes of Farrell play in, the likes of Binny Villapola and likes of Mako Vinapola. Oh, sorry, I should at least say the last European match for Saracens. So, yeah, predicting very much a home win for Bordeaux. And then the final game that we've got to talk about this weekend is the matchup between Northampton Saints and Munster. Now, obviously, these two went toe-to-toe in the pool stages earlier this year, and it was a magnificent win for Northampton. They came from behind. They had 14 men. They narrowly won. I think it was 26-23. I might have that wrong, but I think that was the score. And for me, that was quite a defining moment for Northampton. It actually sort of was like their coming of age as a team who could actually win hard-fought, difficult games that relied on defence as much as attack. Now, obviously, this time round, Northampton are at home. And whilst I think it will be another great game, it's another game I'm really looking forward to. I think I can only really see one result here. I think Northampton are just going to have a little bit too much for Munster at home. And that will see them through to the quarterfinals. So based on all of those predictions, if I've got this right, that will see a quarterfinal lineup the following weekend of Toulouse versus Exeter, Bordeaux versus Glasgow, Leinster versus La Rochelle, and Northampton versus the Bulls. Now, I'm already getting excited at the prospect of Leinster and La Rochelle in another matchup. Obviously, it's a little bit earlier than we normally see them compete against each other in the competition. But yeah, I mean, cannot wait if that game comes off. Really looking forward to it. But again, let me know what you think. Do you think I've got those predictions right? I may be out of my mind. I might be correct. Either way, I cannot wait for an amazing weekend of rugby. I will be glued in front of the telly for as much of it as I possibly can. I hope you enjoy the games and see you next time.